Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, streaming January 25th, only on Netflix.
Listen to the 48 Hours podcast for shocking murder cases and compelling real-life dramas from one of television's most watched true crime shows. Go behind the scenes of each episode with award-winning CBS News correspondents and producers in Postmortem, a weekly deep dive. Listen to 48 Hours wherever you get your podcasts.
A note to listeners, the following podcast contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences.
You know, it's been a rough 10 years, but here we are. And so we plan on doing a vigil for Molly and Colt at the Love County Courthouse in Marietta from 6 to 9. I believe they will get the answers. There was a quote in the Marietta Monitor by the lead investigator on the case with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Special Agent Vincent. But he was quoted in the article as saying, "I'm very confident in what I think transpired on the night of July the 8th, 2013. And now it's just about proving it through facts, and we will do that."
You are listening to Partners in True Crime. We are your hosts, Rob and Cindy Dorfman.
This Saturday, July 8th, marks the 10th anniversary of Molly Miller and Colt Haynes' disappearance. Both the families, law enforcement, as well as us, believe that Molly and Colt are dead. All indications point to the fact that they were murdered.
But who murdered them and why? Those are the questions that we have been asking since 2018, since we first learned about this case. Unfortunately, with all of the information that we have accumulated, there are still so many questions left to be answered.
But now that the BIA has taken over the case, we can only hope that they are getting some answers to this horrible crime. The guilty parties need to be brought to justice, and the families need to end this 10-year-long nightmare.
Today we're going to first bring you back to that day when the car chase happened, and Molly and Colt vanished, to remind everyone that no matter what anyone says, that car chase was the epicenter to what eventually happened to them.
We are then going to talk to Paula Fielder to hear about any updates that she might have in the case, and to hear about the anniversary special that she has planned this Saturday, July 8th, in front of the Love County Courthouse.
But first, let's go back to that hot July weekend in 2013.
On Sunday, July 7th, 2013, temperatures soar past 100 degrees, with humidity so thick it's hard to move. They could get a twister at any time. The clouds are so thick that the moon is struggling to break through and finally gives up. The night is pitch black, the kind of darkness that forces you to blink a few times to adjust your eyes. Molly is ready to party. She's trying to persuade her girlfriend to go with them, but Jessica won't budge. And she warns Molly not to go either. You know there's so much drama with Con and Colt, she reminds Molly. But this doesn't change Molly's mind. Instead, she grabs her purse and her phone and hops in the car with Con Nip and Colt Haynes. Around 10:30 p.m., Con makes a pit stop at a convenience store to pick up some beer. It's a simple decision that will change the course of their lives forever.
At 10:46 p.m., Wilson PD Captain Ryan Parsley is in a parking lot across the street from the convenience store when a 2012 Honda Accord rips out in front of him, spraying gravel and hitting speeds of over 100 miles per hour. Parsley flips on his lights, but the car speeds up, igniting a pursuit, and Parsley is on his tail. He calls Wilson PD for backup.
July 7, 2013, 22:42, 51.
Wilson 2, be advised your radio is extremely staticky.
Stop. Subject can be wrecked driving, doing donuts through town in Wilson.
It's like a scene out of a movie. Within minutes, there are over a dozen police cars in pursuit.
Con Nip is taking police on a wild ride through the back roads of Oklahoma. He's driving them into traffic, turning his lights on and off, and Molly is in the back seat, holding on for dear life.
They're turning east on Water Moccasin right now. Yeah, it's a black 2012 Honda Accord. Are they still running with their lights off? Coming up on Oswald Road. Love County has sighted the vehicle there now in pursuit.
When Love County Sheriff's Department gets involved, they know exactly who it is.
Units advised they do believe it's Con Nip.
And they know exactly where he is going.
Probably going to Long Hollow.
That vehicle, we're lost sight. We are heading eastbound towards Long Hollow on Oswald. They probably went all the way to the end. They're going to hit the woods again like they did last time.
Con races into the thick woods and shakes the police.
I don't know exactly. There's a lot of gravel, smoke and debris in the roadway. Get to the end of Long Hollow. Lost visual of it. The gates at the end are closed. Doesn't appear to be any tracks at the end.
They have lost sight of the vehicle. They do not see him.
3160.
Correction, 3160.
I bet you bad. They're going to be on Corey County.
He freaking went out on a dirt road and they lost him, so they're still out looking.
I know.
In between Pike Road and Long Hollow, I'm coming back down. There was a lot of gravel, smoke and debris in the roadway just back west of Long Hollow. I come all the way to the end of Long Hollow. Down at the end, gates closed, chains on the fence, no fresh tracks. But like I said, in between Long Hollow and Pike Road, there was a whole bunch of smoke. I don't know if there was a driveway or something they may have taken up through there.
Con dumps the car and heads home.
But Molly and Colt are left in the woods.
Police spot a white pickup truck near Long Hollow Road and Pike.
Dispatch, I got a guy flashing me down here in this pasture. I'm south of Pike. It's going to be a white Ford pickup, be a white male, jeans, no shirt.
Officers continue to patrol the area looking for any sign of Con and the Honda.
Molly and Colt are running through the woods. It's so dark you can't see in front of you. The area is massive. Thousands of acres of brush, thorns, makes it so hard to run. And there's dangerous wildlife lurking in the bushes. This is rattlesnake country, and it's high season.
Police sirens are still blaring in the distance. Colt climbs into a tree and tries to see if he can figure out where they are, but he falls to the ground and breaks his leg. He's screaming in pain.
While Molly is frantically calling friends for help. But the cell service is sketchy. Then at 12:48 a.m., Molly accidentally calls 911. She doesn't identify herself, and the operator has no idea that she is the person who was in the back seat of the car during the high-speed chase. And the operator doesn't know that Molly might be in danger.
Finally, Colt gets through to his friend, Devin Johnson. "I'm bleeding. I broke my leg. You gotta come get me. We need help. We are somewhere near Long Hollow Road." At 1:30 a.m., Wilson PD decides to call it a night and they can't find the car.
Molly knows these woods. She's spent time on Long Hollow Road. But in the dark, she's afraid she'll get lost and she just won't leave Colt. Meanwhile, Molly and Colt's friends, Benita Long, Devin Johnson, Colby Turner, and Rob Nichols, take flashlights and four-wheelers and head into the woods. But it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. After a few hours, they decide to go home and wait for first light. The next morning at 6 a.m., Molly finally gets through to her friend.
At 9 a.m., the search party, Benita, Devin, Colby, and Rob are still looking for Colt and Molly. Colt tells them to go to Con Nip's house because he knows exactly where he left them.
When the group arrives at Con's house, the Nip family surrounds them. Con doesn't know anything. You go get out of here. But the group isn't buying it. Con, where are they? Con shrugs. I have no idea what you're talking about.
They call Colt and they put him on the phone with Con. Here, you talk to him. He says you know where they are.
Con says, I told you, I don't know where they are. But he grabs the phone.
Colt is screaming, "You better come get us, you motherfucker. You left us here."
Jennifer Nip, Con's aunt, tells the group to leave. You're trespassing. You better get out of here. At 9:30 a.m., Molly talks to another friend.
The group heads back to the woods and continues the search. There are no more calls on either Molly or Colt's phone after 10 a.m. on July 8th, 2013.
And Molly and Colt are never seen again.
So why don't we start with you telling us about Molly's and the anniversary of Molly and Colt's disappearance this week, and how you're feeling about it, and what's going on, what kind of celebration are you having, and just kind of give us an idea of what's going on with this.
Yeah, tell us how you've set everything up and what's going to happen this weekend, and who do you think's coming, and what does it all mean?
Well, on Saturday, July the 8th, is the 10-year anniversary of Molly and Colt's disappearance. And, it's been a rough 10 years, but here we are. And so we plan on doing a vigil for Molly and Colt at the Love County Courthouse in Marietta from 6 to 9. We will have someone here that will be singing, playing his guitar. We will have a candlelight vigil, and we will also have a balloon release at the end of the night. We just want to come together, and remember Molly and Colt, reminisce about the good times with them, and go over some of the things that have gone on in the last 10 years. It's just basically, I want it to be a positive event. I want people to get together and just, laugh and cry, tell their stories. We will have a table set up, with pictures of Molly and Colt over the years, over their life. That's basically what we've got planned for that day. And I hope a lot of people, want to come out and do this with us as a family. It's been a rough 10 years.
Yeah, it has.
A lot has transpired over these 10 years.
Yeah. What kind of, has anybody kind of reached out to you to find out what kind of turnout you're going to have? Like through your Facebook page and everything?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a very good turnout. I really look forward to meeting the people. I call them Molly's Angels because they have been a great support system for me and, this family, to read their sweet comments on Molly's page over the years. And, that really is what keeps us going. And I look forward to meeting those people and putting a face with a name. People I've become friends with and communicate with that I've never met in person. So I really look forward to that, getting to know them on a more personal level. So that I look forward to that. And then we do have a lot of people. I believe several people are going to be there. So. And
then you did it right outside of the courthouse? That's where?
Yeah, we're going to have it. They have a stage area at the Love County Courthouse where they're allowing us to use this venue for the anniversary. They've allowed us to do this a few other times in the past, to hold events there as well. And, I appreciate the county commissioners for allowing us to do that.
That's great. So, obviously we've been off the air for a while. We've been busy doing another project, but like we always said, we always have our finger on the pulse in this case. And we're still looking at a variety of different things, and we're still getting people reaching out to us. Mm-hmm. And we can talk a little bit about that later. But what I want to know from you is, what have you heard from the law enforcement side, if you've heard anything, and what do you think's going on right now? Because it's, we feel it's kind of quiet, but we also knowing that the BIA is working on this. What have you heard?
Well, directly from the BIA or any other agency, I have not heard anything. To be quite honest, they're keeping this case very close to the chest because they're doing it right. And so therefore, they don't want anything that they're doing, I'm sure, being leaked out to the public or any of their suspects for that matter. And so I do believe with all my heart that there is movement on the case, and that they are going to, I believe they will get the answers. There was a quote in the Marietta Monitor by the lead investigator on the case with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Special Agent Vincent Marciello. I don't know how to say his last name, but he was quoted in the article as saying, "I'm very confident in what I think transpired on the night of July the 8th, 2013. And now it's just about proving it through facts, and we will do that."
Well, that's fantastic.
So I think that is that's very encouraging that he would put that out there, at least that. So, but as far as any facts or anything, the direction that is taken, I don't know. So, but I don't worry about it.
Good.
I know for the first time. Well, they took the case in November of 2022. And I really have felt such relief since then that they are on the case and doing what should have been done many, many years ago.
Yeah. So,
I mean, there's multiple people in law enforcement that, I've trusted and I still trust that have said, this should have been solved within the first days because it was a solvable case. They could have been found in those immediate the very beginning of this case. So
I think everybody agrees on that. I mean, anybody, you don't even have to know anything about law enforcement to realize that there was a lot of things that went wrong in this case in the beginning. And it was just a victim of poor police work. And everybody that we've brought on this podcast, law enforcement officials and experts, they've all said the same thing. But have you heard anything else? Has anyone else reached out to you through, the internet or anything like that to kind of share anything or any more information that you're getting?
No, not really. People have not reached out to me really with any new information as of late. So there's really nothing to report on that.
Okay. All right. Well, and then how do you
think... Are you thinking of anything specifically?
No, I'm not thinking specifically. I mean, we, obviously we've been talking sporadically over the past couple months as we were busy on another project. And, actually there was a couple times that, people reached out to us and some law enforcement even reached out to us. We just handed over pretty much all that information over to the BIA. And, I'm sure they're just collecting everything they have. They have so much to go through over the last 10 years, and I'm glad to see that this case is at the top of their pile, even though they have a huge caseload. And I think that was expressed to you also when you went to that one event where you actually physically met Vincent and also, the U.S. State Attorney, or the United States Attorney.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is all great stuff. We're hoping all this yields a result.
I do too, because I was really hoping by this 10th anniversary, I had great hope. And I know there's so much to do. I do know that. And so they've got to go back 10 years on all of this. So, but I really had great hope that by the 10-year anniversary, we would have some sort of resolution in this case. But we don't. And that's okay. We will. I have complete faith in the BIA. Absolutely complete faith. And so with that, we're gonna honor Molly and Colt. remember what should have been, what could have been, and just get to know one another and come together for them. So that's all this is about. It's not about coming to this event on Saturday and persecuting anybody or wanting to talk bad about the people involved or anything like that. I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to move on from all that. You
don't have to do that anymore because you have a reliable law enforcement agency who's doing the proper work. So you don't. The only reason you were doing that is because things weren't getting done, and you needed to call out when it wasn't and who wasn't doing it. So
right.
And that's what you needed to do. You needed to be a mouthpiece for the victims,
for justice, because there wasn't any. But now you're confident, and we're confident in the people that have taken over this case, that you can trust that they're actually doing what they say they're going to do. Unlike before, where people were just kind of putting you off and, telling you you're crazy and just not listening to you. So, of course, you had to be the mouthpiece. It's better for you now to not have to do that. You shouldn't have had to do that in the first place.
Yeah, and some of the law enforcement that was doing some of the stuff and the evidence you were giving them, they weren't communicating anything to you, and that's what was frustrating. So, now we know that some of that stuff has been vetted out, and they're narrowing their search. I think the approach they're taking is probably the best, going back to the beginning, because you always have to go back to the beginning. We always said that from day one. You got to go back to that day 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. 10 years ago when it happened. Where did it fall off? And we all knew it fell off after the car chase. Right after the car chase. That's ground zero. And we don't even know when the car was found, if that was the end of the car chase. One of the other things that the BIA did offer to you, he said that car was moved. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't believe that car, that's where they got out.
No.
So the fact that he gave you that little piece of information tells you that he's finding things out.
Exactly. And we have suspected that since the car was found. We never believed that is where that car was after the police chase. After the police chase.
After they dumped out the car.
We don't believe that was ever the location that they got out of the car. And so that was very reassuring that, some of the things that we have thought over the years and we haven't let go of, that, some may say that's minor, but it's not.
That's huge.
That is huge. Yeah, it's very huge. That's the fact that, where they got out of the car is not where that car was. So that's important information to know. And so I don't know what else that he has come across that, kind of goes along with the theory that I have in my head. But I look forward to the day I hear it, and the truth of the matter is we may find out what happened to them, but we may never find them. And I'm not okay with that.
No.
But it's something we will have to accept. But at the very least, we need to know what happened. What happened? Why? Why did this happen? I need to know why. What was the purpose of this? And I have said it before. I think things like this happened before Molly and Colt, but was never brought to light. And I've heard things about this type of thing happening around here that was never brought to light.
We've gotten several people who've called us.
So many.
One case in point is the Jordan Buckaloo. But that's only one of maybe 3 or 4 other people that have reached out to us.
Very similar to Molly and Colt, where they just vanished.
Right. And Jordan did. They were able to locate partial remains on him, but the case was never solved. And I remember back in August of 2013, I spoke with the agent that was before OSBI actually took the case as a full investigation, but they were working in tandem with the Wilson Police Department at that time. I remember calling him and asking him, after I found out about Jordan's case, if any of the players involved in that case were involved in Molly and Colt's case. And he told me he did not know. And I said, how did I put it? I said, so you don't know who murdered Jordan? And he said, we don't know that it was a murder. He said, do you? Because if you have information, I need to know that. I'm like, no, I just want to know because the circumstances behind it and the location where he disappeared is so close in location to where Molly and Colt went missing. And I knew there was an involvement between the two parties at that time. So that's why I wanted.
Which parties are you talking about?
That's what I'm going to say. Like, people that don't know the Jordan Buckaloo case, can we just talk about that for a minute? Who was Jordan Buckaloo? What happened to him?
Well, Jordan was a resident of Love County who went missing, and I don't recall the year that he went missing, but he was missing for some time. And I know his family they worked very diligently on trying to locate him, kind of like we've done. But they got shut down. I spoke to his aunt, Mary, prior to her passing, and we had some really good visits about this. They did locate him many miles away from where he was last known to be, and just partial remains. And I've also been told by people who helped in those searches that they had already searched that area. There was nothing there, and then they found her remains. Now, as we all know, it's all very wooded in this area, and animals could have drug it to where it was when it was
Sure,
found.
absolutely. This could be a variety of weather, rain, anything.
So that I think, remains were found, possibly positively identified as Jordan's, but then I think that was the end of it.
They didn't find out how he died?
Not to my knowledge. I believe it was 2015. I spoke to a woman who got in touch with me who was very close to a person who says that they were involved in Jordan's murder. And she had no information on Molly and Colt's disappearance, but she felt comfortable enough to come to me. She said she was afraid to go to law enforcement with the information, and she felt like she could tell me the information and I could get it to the proper authorities. And so I took the information. Actually, it was in a recording, and she told me in a very lengthy visit with her details of the murder and the motive behind his murder. After getting the information, I did turn that over to the OSBI at that time, the recording.
And how long ago was this ago that you did this?
I believe I would have to go back and look, but I believe it was 2015 that I spoke to her. She was very nervous about it, but she gave me great detail. And so before I contacted the OSBI with this information, I contacted Jordan Buckaloo's aunt, Mary, and her and I met up. I told her I needed to talk to her, and I told her what I had. I offered to let her listen to it. She did not want to listen to it, but I told her what I had and what it pertained to. And I said, now this is completely up to you, what I do with this information. If you want me to drop it, it's dropped. But if you want me to pursue it and give it to someone that I think will investigate it, I will do that. Because I know that she never gave up, but she kind of backed off. And I didn't know if there was a reason behind that. And so I needed to know without jeopardizing her family, and that type of thing. I didn't want to overstep my boundaries where that was concerned. It wasn't my deal. She gave me the go ahead to do that. And so I did. And literally, I think I may have also given that to the FBI. Not 100% sure on that, but I think I did. But irregardless, here we are, and still nothing has been done. Sad thing is, one of the people involved in that has passed from health reasons, for health reasons, since very recently. So those responsible are not being held accountable in their lifetime, but the wrath of God.
Yeah, eventually they're gonna have to deal with the judgment of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I thought about that when I found out he had passed. I thought, well, God's dealing with him now, You know what I mean? I mean, that's exactly what went through my mind.
That, along with the Molly and Colt thing and the Jordan Buckaloo, there's so many similarities in the reactions of people. People afraid coming out, people afraid of talking and knowing information. I mean, that woman who spent time with you, I mean, the names that she gave you, I'm sure there were familiar names on those names that she gave you. And they're still out there, except for the person who has passed on. But that seems that the culture that was cultivated down there through variety of means and may still be down there. I mean, who knows? We don't have a finger on the pulse down there, and you don't live there. But based upon all the reactions we get from people still listening to the podcast of what we had, the 50-plus episodes, people are still listening and trying to figure out what go on. We still get comments. We still get people reaching out to us. They all say the same thing. It's just like, how does this happen down here? Why are we all afraid of, it's almost like the boogeyman? Hopefully that has calmed down, and hopefully the new people that are in there and the old people are slowly kind of being flushed out or leaving or retiring for whatever reasons. When is the new culture of peace and law enforcement and being able to go and talk to these law enforcement, knowing that if they have something done to them, that they can trust law enforcement? Because, I don't know if they do that now.
Yeah, I don't know either, and
because based upon a lot of the stories you tell me, just from friends that you know that live down there, you told me a recent story, I'm not going to name who the people are, but where someone's son was, arrested for no reason. They couldn't deal with it. And it's like, how do you deal with this? And these people just, they didn't give him a reason why they arrested him. Had some sort of personal grudge or something like that. You just, and we've heard that from a lot of people who live there, people getting pulled over for no reason because they had a personal grudge against them. And, they get their name in the system, and normally they would arrest somebody for a drug charge, and if they knew them and they were part of the good old boy network, they would get let go. And if they weren't, and if they said something bad about them, then they would process them and they would go to prison. And their life would be, so many people have reached out to us about that.
Well, that's something else, that a lot of people, local people in Love or Carter County, have contacted me in the past about just wanting my advice on where to turn for an injustice done to them by law enforcement and where to go, what avenue should they take, because they know because of the injustice that they're not going to get justice in that respect. You know what I mean? So they're looking for another avenue and how to go about it. A lot of it, I mean, and it has nothing to do with a missing person or anything like that. It's just. But
it affects their lives.
It does.
They get a felony, a drug felony on their record. It affects everything. It affects their job. It affects their life. It brands them. And these people that are doing that know that. And that's how they can put the screws to them. Because then if they have a felony on their record, even if they do their time, whatever it is, even if they're like 30 days in jail, that just piles up. And then they can pull them over again for something else.
Right. And it will be revealed. I think a lot of people suspect that I over-exaggerate some of the things that have gone on in this case and others, and how far up it will go. And how far up it has gone, where there's been cover-up in this case or the lack of help in this case. I mean, I'm talking all the way to the DA's office. And I believe even further than that. So, but on a personal level, I have been a victim of the DA and how he has treated a family member of a victim. And so I think that's part of they've lived here. I haven't. But from an outsider looking in, outsider being right in the midst of all of that, I think they are more scared of it than I am because they live here. They have to deal with it on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you would have been able to have been the advocate you are if you did live there. I would, like, every time you told me you were going down there, Cindy and I were like, we always said, be careful. Be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because every time we've been down there, we've been there like twice now. And the last time we went there, we were careful coming in. And you were careful coming in. And we didn't tell anybody we were there. We went to Toby's place. And we brought in Mac and Maureen to kind of look in that water hole, which is still completely unchecked yet. But it's on the list. BIA's
it is.
list.
I talked to Toby today. That is something that is not, it's not been forgotten for sure. So it will be looked into.
Yeah.
The dig will continue. That is going to be
regardless of what we didn't find there. Dogs hit on that thing numerous times. Hit on that lake.
Well, and yes, and they believe, and I'm talking law enforcement, they do believe that there's human remains in that area. Now, whether they're Molly and Colt, and that's to be determined. They believe that there's something there. Too many dogs have hit on that location for there not to be something of interest at that area.
Yeah.
So that's just another thing, but it will get done, and I think it's on the top of the list.
Yeah.
So
and I know Vincent said this to you. He also said it to me as well, is that all the areas in question are going to be searched.
Yes.
And I think he's just waiting for the appropriate time. He's gathering his information and his evidence. He has
everything will be methodical.
Yep.
It'll be well planned and executed. So so that's awesome. That's really good, because you know what, I don't know who it was I was talking to, and I think it was today, it may have been Toby, but there has not been an executed search ever by law enforcement.
Yeah.
It has always been a search where this family has planned the search, got the resources available, and law enforcement showed up.
Yep. Well, that's what he said too. He says there hasn't been, it's never been professionally done. It's been a volunteer ad hoc group of volunteers orchestrated by you and the people that you know and the people that we know. And that's, unfortunately, sometimes that's what you have to do when you're not getting the right cooperation. But now it's in the right hands.
When you have to go hire an outside investigator to come in and start investigating the case because you're not doing these searches, that's where you've got a problem. I mean, that was less than a year after Molly and Colt went missing that we had to do that. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that you did it like that, the Buckaloo family did it like that, other people have had to do it like that. That's just, it doesn't even make sense.
No. And there's, I hope one day, I know there's at least 2 families in this county who have contacted me, who have persons who are now deceased, who were in that world, who had connections to every person that we have ever mentioned on this podcast, pretty much. And they are deceased and always ruled a suicide. But neither one of these families believe that person committed suicide. So I hope one day, because one of them in particular, he is a brother, and it just eats him up that he knows in his heart of hearts his brother did not commit suicide. All the circumstances leading around his death tells him he did not commit suicide, but he has no justice in that. They're going to rule it a homicide, irregardless. So.
Well, that's got to be maddening for a family. That's maddening for a family. I can't even imagine knowing that if my brother, they said he committed suicide, and I knew he didn't, and I knew the people that were around him that could possibly have been responsible for their death. That would gnaw at me like anything. Just like this whole thing with Molly and Colt has gnawed at you and haunted you for 10 years, because it's such an injustice and it's so wrong to have to happen like this. But it happens every day. That's the problem. But it shouldn't have happened here. Everyone tracked where they were up until the end of that car chase. There should be a way. We've all said this. All these law enforcement people we've had on the show and experts, they said this was a solvable case. This didn't have to go on for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but it just kept on. No body. It's like, who wants to put the resources into that?
In those first 12 hours, Molly and Colt are making numerous phone calls. Con is back at his house. Molly and Colt are saying where they're at. They know the vicinity of where they're at. Con told the 4 that came to his house they're out there near where we left the Mustang. So they know that they should have been found right there alive by the people who cared. But something spooked them out of there. I know that. Something spooked them out of there. But I mean, they say there's one of two. There's 2 different stories coming out of that. One of them was he heard the four-wheelers coming, so he got out of there. Other one is that, they got mad because Colt was irate, so they left. They just said, screw it, we're going back. We're just going to go home.
Yeah, he's pissed off. He's hurt.
Yeah,
Why do we want to deal with him? We heard his voice. He's fine. Let's go.
Yeah. But in that first day, Molly's mom made the phone call to Love County. They knew where that police chase ended. Molly's mom's now calling saying, hey, my daughter was in that car. Y'all need to go out there and find her. She's calling all these people, asking for help. They knew exactly where they were, exactly where they would find them, and that nobody went. And it's just so freaking infuriating to know that
they were close.
Yeah. All of it. I don't even know how you go through what you go through, Paula.
Well, the deal is it's 10 years, and knowing that crap right there is what keeps me going, because that is unacceptable on law enforcement's behalf. That was unacceptable. And and he's telling his deputies, y'all just need to back off, leave it alone, go away, don't help this family. But two of them kept on and on and on.
Yeah.
Kept helping us, lost their jobs over it, helping us, but they would not quit because they saw the injustice that was happening. But then when it's coming out that these kids are dead, that's really when it started hitting them hard. And they wouldn't quit. They lost their jobs over it.
So many people in that town, based upon all the calls and emails and texts that we've received doing this podcast, so many people knew what happened, but they're all, and we've had them on the podcast where they're visibly shaken over the phone, wanting to tell the story, knowing what happened, based upon, second party accounts, third party accounts, people that they were related to, people they were married to.
Right.
And so it's hard to really kind of understand how with that much background noise of what happened that was reverberating through that community, that how didn't just open up for someone to really see and say, hey, you gotta do something about this. But everyone was afraid.
Well, I really hope at this point that those people that have called in, emailed, and whatnot, I hope that those people contact the Bureau of Indian Affairs, contact Special Agent Vincent, speak to him, let him know that, the fear that they have and why they have that fear. They're going to be protected. And so they need to know that. This guy is a phenomenal human being. He doesn't want anybody hurt over giving their information that will help solve this case. That is a huge thing, is these people that are afraid of getting hurt. And I don't want them hurt.
No.
I don't want, but they're living with this secret that will torment them till the day they die. And, there's so many people that I know who had information who have since passed. And it's incredible at the young age people pass away. I don't think I really understood it or really noticed it until this. And it's like, holy crap, they were just 30. What, It makes no sense to me why these people are dying so young. And I don't know. It's very sad.
And it's easy to just write it off of these people dying because most of them are involved in the drug community, and it's easy to kind of justify. They did drugs. They died from drug overdose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard to really.
A lot of people will say, why did they wait 10 years? Well, they're on a different side of this. Yeah, and
they live there.
I don't care if a person waits 10 years to tell their story. I don't care. Tell the story. Then I will help protect you, for telling the story. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I will do it. I will not let people come after that person for finally, working up the nerve to tell it.
No.
But people are vicious, Why did you let this family suffer the way you did for 10? Well, there's reasons behind that.
Exactly.
That none of us will ever understand. But we got to give to that person who finally gave it, So we got to, love that person and wrap our arms around them and thank them, even if it did take years. And they may not have known the information 10 years. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. There's so many things that run through my head. I get so jumbled when I'm trying to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah. But I think we can
And-
state right now, if you're listening to this podcast and you listen to any of the podcasts, if you do have information related to the Molly and Colt murders and disappearance, you need to contact the BIA. At the end of this podcast, we have multiple ways you can contact them. I know that any information would be welcome to them. This case is an active investigation, and it's going to get solved, with or without you. But if you have something that can help the case and accelerate it, I think it's your moral duty as a human being to say something and to do it the proper way. You don't have to contact us. You don't have to contact Paula. At the end of this podcast, there's plenty of ways to contact them, and they will listen to you, and they will keep your information tightly close to the vest. And if it's a value, you won't even know if it's value. But if you think you have something, we implore you, come out and tell them.
Yeah.
It's so important. Well, we're really glad that you're doing this anniversary. We're sorry we can't be there. We wish we could be there, but we will be there in spirit. And why don't you tell a little bit more information about what time it starts, if there's anything that people need to bring, and what else is going on with it?
We're having it from 6 to 9 at the Love County Courthouse. Between 6 and 7, we're just going to meet and greet and just get to know one another. From 7 to 8, that's when his name's Jason Kyle Wickens. He's from Denton, Texas. He will be playing some music for us. I've asked my daughter, actually, there's a song I want her to sing. I'm imploring her to do it. She's very nervous about doing it. But I asked her for her mama. I think she should. So she's working. She hasn't given me a yes or no, but I pray she does.
Well, I think she's getting pressured right now.
I think so.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, she will listen to this because she listens to all
Do
your
it for your
podcasts.
mom. Do it for your mom.
Yeah. So bring your lawn chair, bring your ice chest. We have the candles that we need. We do have some lanterns that we have purchased. We've got 150 of those. So we should have plenty. So just bring yourself and let's just get together. Let's just think about Molly and Colt and let everybody know that they're remembered. They're not forgotten. That's what I want to do.
That's good.
That's wonderful, Paula. Well, we love you, and we send you all of our love and prayers for this celebration weekend of Molly and Colt's lives, as short as
It's
they
such a
were.
bittersweet weekend because it's like it's in remembrance, but it's also a remembrance that they're not there.
Right.
So,
Right.
and like I said before, if you have information, anything, call the BIA, text them, email them. All the information is at the end of this podcast. And we'll continue on. And just as we get information, obviously we feel like, in a way, a lot of our work to get to this point, not that it's done, but it's simmering right now. We're giving BIA the space they need in order to vet out this information, vet out everything. And we feel that we're confident that, they eventually will. And the responsible parties, whether they're alive or not at the time, will be held to justice. And it's going to be interesting to see how all this stuff plays out. But we just want to thank Paula for allowing us to do this. And if you're in that area, the Marietta area, the Love County Courthouse, stop by, say hello, take a moment to honor these two young people who lost their lives. Hopefully we'll find answers.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
All right. You take care, Paula.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you have any information regarding the case, please contact the BIA at www.bia.gov/BIA/missing-murder-unit.
You can also call their hotline with tips at 1-833-560-2065 and email them directly at ojs_mmu@bia.gov.
And if you want to text them with a tip, text keyword BIA-MMU and send your tip to 847-411.
Check the Partners in True Crime website for this and any additional information.
If you or anyone you know is suffering from a methamphetamine addiction, please contact the American Meth Addiction Hotline.
If you or anyone you know has been the victim of sexual abuse, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. All rights reserved. This has been a production of 722 Media Content.
Please visit our website where you can subscribe to the podcast, find show notes, and listen to Vi's original song, Take Me Back, written for Molly Miller.